deal with Jerry Seinfeld? Well, he's being a crab at... Wait, who's beeping me? Who's beeping me? Is that the woke left beeping me? So yeah, he said, can I say fuck? Yeah, he calls it a bunch of PC crap. PC crap. His words, not mine. Why did he not call it PC shite? Because the guy has been scared to use sweary cuss words his entire career. He made millions being a PG comedian, at best a PG comedian, more like a universal comedian, suitable for everyone. Suitable for everyone that's ever been on an aeroplane. Because his observational humour basically boils down to, what's the deal with aeroplane peanuts? Or, don't you hate it when you're waiting on your aeroplane and then there's a 10-minute delay and you're like, hey, I booked a 2 p.m. aeroplane, not a 10 past 2 p.m. aeroplane. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Before we go any further, I just want to say that the Seinfeld, the sitcom, is an all-time classic. An absolute classic. It took a few seasons to come together, but after that, the characters developed perfectly. The writing was sharp. The actors were phenomenal. Kramer, George Costanza, Elaine, all the random side actors that would appear from time to time. The Costanza's parents. Really well done, and it deserves to be talked about as one of the greatest sitcoms of all time. So, I was always confused why Jerry Seinfeld's stand-up comedy was so pish. It was just very generic observations that anyone could make. I mean, there's no doubt there's talent there. He's very confident on stage. He's got good timing, but the material was pretty dire. Pretty dire. And it became apparent after Curb Your Enthusiasm came out that it was Larry David, the co-creator, that was the real comedy genius behind the show Seinfeld. And, you know, Jerry Seinfeld saying, I don't think he's trying to say, you couldn't do Seinfeld these days. I mean, most of the jokes in Seinfeld were about waiting, trying to get a place in a good noodle restaurant. Stuff like that. They made it very funny. The actors made it very funny. But it wasn't edgy. Am I wrong? I mean, leave a comment if I'm wrong, but there was nothing edgy about Seinfeld. And I would say Curb Your Enthusiasm is 10 times edgier. And it's still going well. It's just done its last season by choice. But that was 10 times edgier than Seinfeld. So I don't know what he means, like, the woke left are destroying comedy. South Park's still a thing. Nobody has really ever pushed the envelope as much as South Park. But South Park is still a thing. I don't know if he's pissed off because his Netflix show, comedians driving Porsches and drinking lattes, or whatever it's called, did that get cancelled? Maybe that got cancelled because it was shite. It was just Jerry. Let me see if I can find this. I'm sure I can't play it because there'll be a copyright restriction, because that's the kind of guy Jerry Seinfeld strikes me as. But yeah, I just typed in Jerry Seinfeld with gloves, and hold on, where is he? Is that gloves or is that just his hands? Maybe he's just got leathery hands. Actually, he might just have leathery hands. Look, I don't have time to prove or disprove this theory. I apologise if Jerry Seinfeld never wore the gloves. I apologise for that if he never wore the gloves. I remember him distinctly wearing gloves, and he was just like drinking. He would drive about, show off his fancy cars, and talk to a comedian who's trying to get a word in edgeways, and everything they say just never... He doesn't like to be the second funniest person in the room, so he doesn't kind of let any of the other comedians get over. Nothing gets by that two-dimensional joke man jukebox brain of his. He's just a jokey jukebox with mundane observations, in my opinion. In my opinion. It's got that kind of Alan Partridge vibe to him, where he's just going, needless to say, I had the last laugh. Every story he always comes out as the smart one, the intelligent one. There's no self-depreciation humour. I don't know how to say that word. There is none of that. It's just about him being the funny, intelligent, smart man in the room. And it gets a bit grating after a while. And that's really when I first started to realise that the guy might be a bit of a dauber. And then more things came to light.
People are tired most of the time.
Gosh, I love you so much.
Oh, thanks.
Can I give you a hug?
No, thanks.
Please?
No, thanks.
A little one.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Oh.
Give everyone a hug, but I just think that, you know, he's like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. That's the vibe he's given there. And then there's this other moment where he talks to...
Lasted how long?
9 years, 180 episodes.
You gave it up, right?
I did, sir.
They didn't cancel you. You canceled them.
You're not aware of this?
No, I'm asking you.
You think I got canceled? Are you under the impression that I got canceled?
Have I hurt you, Jerry?
I thought that was pretty well documented.
Is this still
CNN?
Don't most shows go down a little?
Most people do also. But... Yeah, no, I went off the air. I was the #1 show on television, Larry. Do you know who I am?
Jewish guy, Brooklyn.
Yes.
Okay.
75 million viewers last episode.
Boy, you don't take it so bad.
Well, that's the big difference between being canceled and being #1.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll be right.
You know, it's Larry King. It's Larry King, and he just asked a reasonable question. But... the way that, you know, he could have made a funny joke out of that. He could have made a funny joke out of that, like, yeah, no, I didn't get cancelled, you know. I refused the money. And I think that there's another interview where he's talking to a sort of less famous, I mean, that's how he deals with Larry King. He was talking to another presenter that wasn't quite as famous, and he just absolutely destroys her and goes, I was offered £300 million or £500 million to do another series, and I said no, because I don't need the money, I do what I want, and I'm cool as fuck, basically. That was his whole thing. And there's just more and more evidence of him being a total bellend. And just there he's like, they didn't cancel my show. Obviously they're talking about in the network definition of cancelled, but I'm just curious, who is getting cancelled? You know, who is seriously being cancelled in comedy? It's a thing you hear a lot on podcasts like Joe Rogan and stuff like that, where people say that they've been cancelled, then they go onto Joe Rogan, the biggest show in the world, and then they go on to sell out tours all across the world. Louis C.K. still selling out arenas, Jimmy Carr playing stadiums, Sean Gillies, great comedian, but he actually became famous by getting cancelled and then going on Joe Rogan, and now he's one of the most successful stand-up comedians in the world. Frankie Boyle still says whatever he likes. If you see Frankie Boyle live, he's still pulling absolutely no punches, and yet he can still host a weekly show on BBC. And I mean, he says some pretty rough stuff. Not as rough as, say, Jerry Sadowitz, who admittedly doesn't get in television, but he still tours. If you want to see Jerry Sadowitz, if you really want something really offensive, then Jerry Sadowitz is still there. He's not been cancelled. I would say that he's not suitable for primetime television. I mean, even Roy Chubby Brown, who's a famous racist comedian, most of his jokes are racist or misogynistic. He's still touring Butlins up and down the country. He's less popular now because a lot of his fan base are dying off, but you can still go and see Roy Chubby Brown if you like. It is an option that you have. So please leave a comment if I'm missing the point. Where are all these comedians that are getting cancelled? I don't actually see it. I don't really see it. I do know there's lots of up-and-coming comedians who say things like, oh, I don't get booked because I'm too offensive, I'm too shocking, it's the woke left, that's why I won't get booked. But these are people that are using shock humour without a pen sharp enough to have a punchline that makes the crowd laugh when they don't want to laugh. It's a very unique skill that takes years of working on timing and writing. Anyway, I just wanted to come on here and say that I was just blown away. We're used to everyone saying, oh, you can't say anything these days. We're used to people saying, oh, you wouldn't get away with that these days. And admittedly, there's loads of comedies that you wouldn't get away with these days. But Seinfeld was not one of them. And there's lots of examples of stuff that's 10 times edgier than Seinfeld that still goes. You need to be funny. And yeah, I think he's quite a boring man. He's got nothing much to say. So he thought he'd join in with the you can't say anything these days. And he's a man who's never swore on stage. He's never done anything offensive, deliberately offensive. I mean, some people could argue that his comedy's offensive by being bland. And he's never spoke truth to power. He's never been political. It's just crazy to me that he's decided to go on that. But I suppose he's got a new he's got a new film out, which I just watched the trailer for. It looks shite. It's about cereal. And that kind of sums up Jerry Seinfeld. Love the show. Love the Seinfeld show. Not a big fan of the guy, as you can hear. But if I'm being too harsh, let me know. Leave a comment below. Jerry Seinfeld and his gloves. Is it the woke left? Are they ruining comedy? Can you not say anything anymore? Please give examples of people that have been cancelled for a joke and their careers are now over. I would love to hear that. You've been tuned into You Call That Radio.